Hey buddy, if you like content, well then you should like and subscribe so I can blast hot salty content all up in your earholes. Men of Reddit. When did you miss obvious hints from a girl? I don't know, guess I missed them. She invited me to go swimming with her in college, but before we went to the pool, we'd need to stop at her room so I could tell her which bikini looked the best on her. My stupid ass said, I'm sure they all look great, just pick one and meet me at the pool. Picture this teenage me in bed with my girlfriend, sans clothes and doing some heavy petting. I had a condom in my wallet, like a sov motherfucker. She asked to see it. I told her I only want to take it out of the package if I'm going to use it. She replied, okay, take it out. Me, nah, I only want to take it out if I'm going to use it. Her, let's take it out. Me, no, don't want to waste it. Her. Fast forward 15 years to me sitting thinking while in the dentist's chair and being like, holy fuck, I'm a moron. I'd had a few casual nights with a girl at uni. It was her birthday and her friend came to visit, and as a joke bought her sex toys as a present. I was hoping to score with the girl, but she made it pretty clear that her friend was staying over. I assumed this meant that nothing could happen, but then her friend started getting pretty flirty with me and was dropping some pretty clear signs. I still figured, though better not, as I didn't want to upset the girl I knew. Walked them both home and the friend was still being openly flirty in front of the girl I knew, and I remember thinking it was a bit rude of her, but the girl I knew wasn't bothered at all and was finding it all pretty funny. Got home and realized there was two girls, one of which I'd slept with before and another who was putting the moves on. A bag of sex toys that had never been used. I almost cried myself to sleep that night, but convinced myself I was wrong. Nope, a few months later I hooked up with the original girl again and she told me it was a shame the threesome never happened. Her friend never visited again, sad face. This one time I was hanging out with a very close girlfriend of mine in her room. It was late, we were both kitten of tired, and so we ended up just lying down next to each other while talking. She suddenly told me about this surgery she had not that long ago, which left a scar. She asked me if I wanted to touch it and proceeded to take my hand and slowly bring it to her crotch area. She unzipped her pants, lifted her underwear, and brought my hand right to her scar, which was like an inch or two away from her coin slot. I touched her scar, said, oh that's nothing, you want to feel a real scar. Then I took her hand and put it on my knee where I have a giant scar from when I was like 12 and fell while riding my bike. I looked at her face with excitement, hoping to see her reaction, where she would be super impressed with how big my scar was, only to immediately realize that she was let down. That this was not a time for exchanging scar stories. It was a super aggressive move on her end that completely flew over my head. This happened maybe 18 years ago, and I still think about that to this day. SMH. I can't believe she thought her scar was more impressive than mine. What an idiot. Not so much a hint as throwing herself at me. In high school I had a crush on a very popular, very pretty girl that was a year behind me. We were friends, but she was never interested in me romantically. In our mid-20s she contacted me and said that we should hang out. I thought we were hanging out as friends. At dinner she told me that she was on the pill and guys seemed to love that about her. Later we're wandering around the mall and she showed me her tattoo. It was small and tasteful, but it might as well be a bullseye. Over the course of the next month, she would invite me over to her place once a week and we'd watch movies, look at old pictures from high school, all while sitting snuggle distance from one another on her couch. Most of the time she was either wearing second date outfits or cute pajamas. I was shockingly naive in my 20s and honestly had no clue what she was doing. But after a month and a half she just gave up. As it turned out, she was going through the guys that had a crush on her in high school. There were a lot of them, and sleeping with them for a month before moving on to the next one. shortly after I didn't sleep with her, it turned out she had HPV. In 2010 she got married and they had 2 kids. By 2016 they were divorced. In 2017 she died from an opioid overdose. Her adulthood was pretty turbulent and traumatic. In retrospect, I am glad that I didn't get mixed up with her romantically. RIP Jen. Oh God. Only one story I know about, but it hurts so much. So I'm 17, I've never kissed a girl, never been in a relationship, never had anyone even remotely show interest before this point, and I have no idea how any of this works. Girl I know invites me to her house to play frisbee, and I'm happy someone is inviting me to do anything, as I didn't have friends back then. We do actually play frisbee and have a good time. We then head inside and she informs me that her parents aren't home, as I'm obviously looking around for the other people who live there. I think it's odd to have someone over without their parents home, as my parents would never allow that, but shrug it off as her having extremely lenient parents. These must be some really cool parents, I think. They have a pool out back. She jumps into the pool fully clothed and asks me to do the same. We have fun in the pool for a while, being wet dorks, and get out. She goes upstairs and goes to the bathroom claiming she needs to dry off, and after a bit proceeds to exit wearing nothing but a towel. We then head to her room. Sitting on her bed, with her in a towel, with no parents home, and she proceeds to ask me, "What should we do now?" My response: "Watch some TV." 1 year later I realized what that was about. God damn it. So there's this one girl in 9th grade. She used to look down when I spoke to her. I thought of it as shyness, and I thought she liked me. Yes, stupid of me to think, I know. Regardless, I thought it was really cute. Also, she was really hot. So, one weekend, she posts a Snap story asking for random confession conversations, so I told her I liked her. The Monday following my confession, I asked her what she thought. She just said she was surprised, LMAO. Mind you, she was already getting tangled up with another guy at the time. My low confidence head ass could never get with her. Fast forward 3 years into grade 12, and she starts giving what I assumed to be signs. One day I jokingly punched one of my boys and she was nearby, and she whispered, "Why doesn't he hit me like that?" I didn't hear it properly at first, but I question her friend that was sitting next to her, and she tells me even this phrase might be a little inaccurate because it really made me uncomfortable, so I probably don't want to remember it anyway. I was assuming that her brain liked the idea of pain equals pleasure type situations. Then another day, while I'm studying for a test at the library, she randomly one day starts calling me professor, as in professor, after asking for help with review. This continues for a good while. I found this very endearing and sweet, but at the time I couldn't tell if it was a sign, because I recently confessed feelings to another girl who I also thought was flirting with me a few months prior. Mind you, this other girl was being much more obvious with her flirting, and yet when I asked her about it, she apologized for leading me on. Therefore, I couldn't tell. Another day, after finishing group presentation, I was dressed up as a sort of professional with a dress shirt and tie. When I was fixing my tie, she came over and started tying it for me. IDKY, but this instantly made me think of pornos where a sex-desperate girl yanks the guy who had just come home from work by the tie and starts making out with him. Fast forward to now, I'm in university with her and she's still calling me professor. Our conversations are pretty bland, mostly about schoolwork, but that's really only because 1, I'm scared to ask her if she was flirting in fear of my gut feelings being wrong, and 2, during a time like this pandemic and we're all at home alone, IDK, if it's the best idea to get closely tied with someone right now. But she's stopped talking to me altogether now. I think I've missed my shot. LMAO, I hope she's just very busy and trying to stay away so she can focus, and we'll start talking again during Christmas break. My wife and I both missed a bunch of obvious hints from each other. We were both friends for 2 years, each trying to catch the other's attention without realizing the other was doing the same. She would always sit next to me, making sure she was in some way touching me. Her knee would be against me, she would put her hand on my shoulder as she leaned to grab something. She would stop by where I worked and bring me a lunch she had cooked. I was constantly buying her coffee, giving her rides because she had no car, would give her back neck rubs. Neither of us had a clue the other was interested. Finally, my best friend pulled me to the side one day and said, "Dude, she's obviously into you. You're obviously into her. Ask her out." He was best man in my wedding 18 years ago this month. TLDR, I'm a fucking idiot. She literally asked me out in front of my face, but my dumbass was thinking about food. I was on the bus coming home from work, thinking through my dinner plans. I had been trying to cook at home more to save money, but I'm not good at cooking, so I really had to prep myself by thinking through the steps beforehand. As I'm running through them, this incredibly attractive professional woman asks to sit down next to me with a smile. I say sure, and immediately go back to planning my dinner and looking through my phone and notepad. The guy in the seat next to us strikes up conversation with her while I'm scribbling notes. Turns out she's new in town and it's her birthday today. While he's giving her recommendations on places around town, she interrupts him by asking me if I've lived here long. I tear my eyes away for a moment to say, yeah, I was born here, but before I can go back to my notes, she asks my recommendations. So I got pulled into the conversation but tried to stay as neutral as possible. I didn't want to come off like I was hitting on her like the guy next to us obviously was. I figured she probably gets creeped on a lot on the bus, and I didn't want to add to that. However, the guy was actually pretty funny and she was witty AF, so it turned into a fun conversation. Before long it came time for my stop and I told them I had to get off. She stands up with me and says it's her stop too. So we get off together onto the street corner and talk for a few more minutes. As my mind starts drifting back to my dinner plans, I wish her a happy birthday and turn to walk away when she blurts out, "Hey, my coworkers are coming over to celebrate with me, but in a few hours. My apartment's right here and I have some dinner prepped and some wine if you'd like to come hang out and wait with me." And at the mention of dinner I go, "Oh, I actually have my dinner planned out, but thank you," and turn to leave. It took me to the end of the next block before I realized how fucking stupid I am. You might feel dumb, but at least you're not these guys. If you enjoyed this, consider leaving a like or subscribe. I publish a new video every day so you'll never be bored for about 10 minutes.